Do you know the exact value of your aircraft? If so, then there's no point watching this video. But for the rest of us, I have a cheap solution for you that can help you determine the value of your aircraft so that in the event of a claim, you'll get back what your aircraft is actually worth. What is that cheap solution? Well, it's Caleb here from Air 101 and we're gonna talk about it. So what is that cheap solution to find out the value of your beloved aircraft? It's getting what's called a desktop appraisal done for your aircraft. But what is a desktop appraisal? Simply put, it is where you call in an accredited aircraft appraisal company. You give them some information about your aircraft and they compare with all the data they have and compare that information with the current aircraft market and give you an accurate valuation for your aircraft. Now in this video, I'm going to answer three things for you. Number one, why get a desktop appraisal done? Number two, what is the process of doing a desktop appraisal? And if you stay to the end of this video, you'll find out what you probably are all wondering. Point number three, how much does a desktop appraisal cost? Now, why get a desktop appraisal done for your aircraft? It is critical that you keep up to date with your aircraft's current value, not only for tax and depreciation purposes, but also when you seek to refinance or sell your aircraft. And with regards to your insurance, it is very important that you have your aircraft insured for the correct value so that you don't lose any money in the event of a loss. Imagine if a pilot owned a Cessna 172 and they thought it was worth $100,000, only to find out that after a loss happened that the aircraft was worth $120,000. The aircraft owner would essentially be out 20 grand in this situation. That is why it's so important to get a desktop appraisal done for your aircraft. Also, if your aircraft is worth a lot more than other aircraft that are a similar make and model, it's very important to get a desktop appraisal done. Why? Well, here's an example. Let's say you had a Cessna 172 N model worth $80,000, but you have for some reason put a glass cockpit in there with autopilot, redid the paint, redid the interior, added a Rolls-Royce engine in there, put whipline amphib floats on there, and now it is worth $500,000. The insurance company will usually not agree to the hull value unless either you're able to provide receipts, photos, or an aircraft appraisal report to them before they will agree to insuring your aircraft. Now, this is just an extreme example, but it really proves the point that why the insurance company would want to get an appraisal done on an aircraft before agreeing to insure a high valued aircraft that is normally worth a lot less. And a cheap way of getting them to agree to it is by getting a desktop appraisal done. Now we come to point number two. What is involved in getting a desktop appraisal done? To be honest, not really that much. First things first, you must declare what the appraisal is for and who is going to use it for that purpose. The appraiser must know this before engaging in any agreement. Now here's the thing, the desktop appraisal as mentioned is very simple and it only requires the appraiser to have access to the following information. Aircraft status report, chapter 4 and 5, inspections and limitations. Copy of the registration and airworthiness certificate. Accurate total time and landings for the airframe, engine, APU. Fill out a questionnaire accurately that asks about the aircraft history and modifications that were performed. This also includes to disclose damage history of any kind, the paint age and interior age, and of course they would welcome any pictures, but it's not necessary. And finally, the equipment list for the aircraft. The thing that we all need to understand is that if you want to get a desktop appraisal done for your aircraft, you would want to get one done from an accredited appraiser that follows the standards of professional appraisal practice guidelines. That's why I personally recommend that you contact George, Senior Vice President at Advisory Services and Jet Support Services. He is very knowledgeable and he is an accredited senior appraiser and he has been doing this for many years. And I've actually sent lots of customers his way and he's looked after them and done a great job appraising their aircraft. And if you look at the note sections of the bottom of this video, you'll be able to find his contact information right there. Now that you made it to the end of this video, you get to find out how cheap of a solution this is for getting an appraisal done on your aircraft. Now with regards to smaller aircraft such as a Cessna 172, Cessna 182, Cessna 206, etc., it will cost you roughly about $1,000 or less to get a desktop appraisal done for your aircraft. Now you're probably thinking, Caleb, $1,000. I stayed all the way to the end of this aviation insurance video just to find out that getting a desktop appraisal done for my aircraft costs that much money? That's way too much money. But here's the thing that you have to think about. In the earlier example that I gave about the Cessna 172, if the aircraft owner had done a desktop appraisal on the aircraft before the loss and found out it really was worth $120,000, then if they had the loss, they would essentially be only losing out on roughly $1,000 or less, the cost of the appraisal, and not be losing out on $20,000 by not getting the appraisal done and underinsuring their aircraft. That is why I recommend that you get an appraisal done on your aircraft. Remember, insuring your aircraft with the correct hull value is very, very important. And with how cheap a desktop appraisal is in comparison to being underinsured on your aircraft insurance policy, you could easily save yourself from losing out on a lot of money in the event of a loss. That is why when I was talking with George, he said routinely many operators and aircraft owners have a valuation performed every 36 months. He went on to say there is usually enough depreciation over 3 years to move the value outside of the envelope, which means that could be a difference between an aircraft being a total loss or only being able to be 80% rebuilt. I have been doing aviation insurance for 10 plus years, and there are situations where I have advised aircraft owners to get an appraisal done on their aircraft or increase their aircraft hull value, but they didn't listen to me, and then they had a loss. And they found out that their aircraft was underinsured by tens of thousands of dollars, and in the end ended up losing out on a lot of money. So this is why I'm making this video, because obviously you never want to have an accident. But if you do have an accident, I want to make sure that you get back the right amount of money so that you can go buy another aircraft and continue to do what you love to do, fly your aircraft. Now, in saying all of that, go get your aircraft appraisal done. Have fun flying your aircraft, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.